school board to order at 6:40. Here, he's excused. Here. Stand for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will open with comments from visitors. Are there any comments from visitors?
Ms. Gail O'Connor, school nurse here. I just see on your agenda that there are some policies for reviewing. Some of them have to do with emergency care and things like that. I'm really interested in that. I know back in April, the New Hampshire School Nurses Association was notified that the school board, New Hampshire School Board Association was working on like a Narcan policy. That's not drafted yet. Okay. I'm waiting for that so that I can help educate my teachers if I need to use that. Okay.
It's not that, this is more,
Okay.
if you're sticking around, you'll hear a little bit about it. Any other comments from visitors? All right, then we will move forward immediately. The consent calendar consists of our budget workshop minutes from the 13th of October, our school board minutes from the 13th of October, an email from Rollinsford, and our enrollment for November. So a motion to accept or to remove anything from it for discussion.
Make a motion to accept it.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Announcements, any announcements? Superintendent Mosca.
No, I just, it's been nice here this week. We've had student-led conferences going on. And I've been fortunate enough to spend some hours here this week since Kate was out. Between Laura and I were sort of covering, so I'm back to my roots of being a principal. It's been rather nice and enjoyable, so it's been fun, and I'll be here tomorrow for a little bit. So that's about it as far as announcements go from me.
That's great, and I'll just make a note. I'm sure many of you saw this in the paper, but Superintendent of Marshall Schools, Mary Nash, was named Superintendent of the Year in the state of Maine. So congratulations to her on that. Discussion items. The principal's update is first, and Kate had again provided it to the board via email. I'd like to get the board's thoughts on this. I like getting this update the way she's doing it now, where it shows the highlights that have been going on in the last month, and then some of the roadblocks and how they're dealing with them. I really like it. I feel like I'm knowing more about what's going on here. What do other people feel?
I like the format as well. I think it's good input, to see, grades and broken down the grades.
How do you choose?
So I'll ask her to continue that way.
Please do. I find it very helpful to see this. Any other comments on Kate's update? Any other building updates from the acting principal?
Yes, we do have some building updates. We have a beautiful fixed backboard, and it's looking great, and we still have some holes and one coming. So mid-December, that should be done and addressed. The other piece that I will update you on is the first student possible bus potential strike, which doesn't affect our drivers, and our drivers have been wonderful in reaching out and saying that they certainly don't want to support any sort of strike. They want to do their job and drive the bus. So I've communicated with Judy and the chair of the Summersworth Board 2 or 3 times now regarding the information. Yesterday afternoon, first student and the Teamsters had sort of reached an agreement where no strike would happen today, and that they're going to go back to the table on Tuesday. As a precaution, the bus company asked to move the buses. So last night, all the buses were parked at Idlehurst, because it was a big enough parking lot where I could get 12 buses in. So they were fine this morning. I checked last night and stopped there on my way this morning, and everything was fine. Tonight, the buses are back at their own parking lot and parking garage, and we should be set. We're set, and we have a plan that if something happens, that they'll use that as a place to park so that they can just get their buses and not run into any problems. And I sent an alert now out to parents, and I had sent an email out to staff because it had been on the news so often. I just wanted folks to know that we didn't have anything to worry. So that's where we are.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Noah, Marshwood Student Rep. What do you have to share with us this week?
Well, the first week of the academic calendar has concluded as of last week, which also means that the athletics department has been transitioning from fall sports into winter sports. The Red Cross hosted the annual blood drive at the high school last week on November 10th, which was very successful. The district musical for James and the Giant Peach began last week on Friday the 11th, and the last two shows will be on tomorrow and Saturday, which allow for participation for every student, for any student within the MSA 35 school district.
Kindergarten on up, right?
Yes. There's nothing else to report for this month, as we will begin Thanksgiving vacation next week on Wednesday, and we'll be returning the following Monday.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Have you seen James? Did you see James Liddell? Did they show it to the student body?
It's available for anyone to attend.
Thank you. And I believe playing the part of Bailey this evening.
Yeah.
Superintendent Moscow.
Play a little principal, play a little
Looking for the summer's worth. So you can keep playing.
Yeah, I'm gonna try my best. Bailey has, as I was driving into work this morning, I said to Bailey, hey, I'll see you tonight. And she said, and I said, oh, maybe I won't see you tonight. So Bailey has laryngitis and sent me her report. So she says, here's the update. Student council, 13 students attended the annual Leadership Waterville Valley Conference the past weekend. Can drive for members of our community is going well until next Tuesday. Closed drive from December 16th to the 28th. I'm not sure about that. With annual closed fair on December 28th from 5:30 to 7:30. I think it's the 28th, but that's okay. National Honor Society just finished their annual Krispy Kreme fundraiser, which would benefit our community through 68 Hours of Hunger program. Had businesses donate food for Thanksgiving baskets filled with food for families in need. As Noah said, sports have transitioned from fall to winter. Basketball, winter track, and hockey seasons are beginning. The Interact Club is providing childcare for parent-teacher conferences and class councils. Freshmen are doing a few potential catalog fundraisers. Sophomores are still selling their snacks and selling shirts with Summersworth Community, and they're hosting a game night tomorrow night for anybody who likes to play games. Juniors have a mixed bag fundraiser and are planning the prom fashion show, and seniors are working on Project Grad and senior banquet venues. She said she'll see us next month, hopefully when she can speak. Respectfully, done, Bailey Haynes.
Thank you. You did a good job with her enthusiasm, channeling her enthusiasm. All right, the next discussion item is the spreadsheet from Marshwood, which it looks like we're down one student from September, and we were down
Yes.
that same one student last time. So one of the things I noted, and it's something that I have a problem with sometimes in the budget, but and I know it's done this way, that so that the sped cost includes the base tuition as well as the sped cost. So I always try to break out what the actual sped cost is out of that. And so it's under $200,000, about 182. no, it's actual sped cost that we're paying for à la carte, because we're paying the base tuition for every child, no matter what, so. But I know, so thank you for continuing to provide that.
We will do that as well.
Any other questions on that or comments? The activity bus is here for review. I'm leaving it on. We're going to do the actual review of it for this year in January, I believe. And I want us all to just start thinking about sort of lessons learned, how we're going about some of these things. I mean, it was unfortunate, I think, that at the timing that we learned of the actual cost of the activity bus. But, yeah, live and learn. So, we learned about the actual cost a little after the review.
I guess if we hadn't have canceled it, we might not have realized.
Yeah, so, yeah, and then we would have realized, yeah, that's true. It's a good point, yeah. Yeah.
But I do think there are definitely lessons what should be learned, how we canceled it as well.
Right.
That we should.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about them now? Or do you want to wait and talk about them in January?
No, I mean, I think we can wait and talk about them in January,
Okay.
but just, you know,
Yeah.
I think that it took people by surprise, and I think it's important that we get some input and discuss these things in a way that our community can be involved in and make decisions on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also related to that, we're only gonna have one more meeting before we discuss this. So, I guess my question, maybe tying into this, is how are we gonna, what's the input we're gonna need for that decision in January? I mean, do we need a number, bare minimum number of riders? Do we, are there other alternatives? It seems that, this is gonna be something we're gonna have to look at continuously, because, it's a cost, but what is gonna be the factor that changes what we're doing now versus what we'll do then? And it just doesn't seem as though we have a great deal of time, to make that decision. But what's that input look like?
Well, I think we do have to decide what that input looks like. We have to decide very quickly, actually. So, or relatively quickly. What are some thoughts?
I mean, I think that this time, we've informed parents that, they will be making this decision at the January meeting. Whereas the last time we were, making a decision, no one really knew that it was coming up. So I think that already we have given more notice. If we end up, I'm not saying that we are, but certainly, but if we end up canceling it, I think that parents are now aware that that is in jeopardy, whereas I don't think we were before.
Should we also perhaps let folks know that, I think a lot of folks still believe that we're still under a discounted rate, and because we tried to talk about that at the last meeting, we made that aware, we were made aware of that after that meeting. So maybe that's something we could, at least start posting and getting out there so that parents are aware. I think after our discussions here, people understood where we were coming from, that we were just, we're trying to make, good decisions, sound decisions for the town and for the students, all of our students. So I guess I would advocate for us letting folks know and turning to the folks perhaps that were at the last meeting to perhaps we need to think about what some options could be for them. I know a number of the parents were open to a voucher system, but I know that administrating of that is, how do we go about doing that?
But it makes me wonder if there is another option, if there is another alternative to whoever Is it first student that's providing it? Or is, I mean, is there an option for, if we're talking about, I mean, if we use today's counts, we have 7 students that are using this bus. So, do we need a full bus for this? And it doesn't matter.
They seem to think, our answer was that it doesn't matter whether it's a van or it's a big bus, it's the same price.
Right, but we have to use certain vendors, I assume.
Well, our
So,
transportation that we went out to bid for that included a late bus run was first student. That's who we awarded the contract to. That's the language in the contract. I mean,
So if we choose to provide a late bus, we're contractually obligated to do that for first student.
that was the bid that we went out for. I mean, I suppose we could have a conversation with them.
the question, I guess, that ties into what Emily's saying is, if that's true, that contract ends when?
We just signed it.
Okay, so when does it end?
5 years.
Okay. So, I mean, it may be something we have to go back to, you know, this is just, it's cost prohibitive. So is there something we can do? I mean, look, they know we're gonna use them for the rest of the services. This is really an extra service now.
So there are a couple of things we can do. We can go back and try to negotiate with them. If you are going to continue it through the rest of the year, if you're going to consider it for next year. So I suppose some money's better than no money, because if you don't have it, then they make no money. So we could go back and have a conversation with them. It's not like we can go shopping, because
Well,
as you
what
know, how many people did on the job when the job was open. So, I mean, I suppose we could look around. I'm not sure what we would find.
Well, I think we do have a lot of things to consider. I'm not sure that we as the school board need to be involved with after-school buses necessarily. That, again, we're talking, using today's numbers, we're talking about 7 riders on the bus. And surely there are solutions out there. Parents are very resourceful people. I mean, surely there are ways that other things can work. I don't know what they are, but I don't think if we bend ourselves into pretzels and it's still just 7 students, or even 10 students, or even 20 students. It's a lot to think about, but the time we've spent on it is a lot of time, and the time the administration has spent on it is a lot of time. And we need to think of that as well.
What we heard, though, from the parents that came here for that last meeting, this is a valuable service. And we did offer it, and unfortunately, we were misinformed as to cost for this year, which really was staggering. Twice what we were paying, so it is, that's a hard, tough pill to swallow, but we still have a service that parents are relying on. Now, I agree that, if we're to discontinue it, like Emily's saying, there needs to be enough notice so that folks are aware. And, if lessons learned for me, if I could go back in time, I wouldn't have discontinued it. I wouldn't have. Because it just seemed it was catastrophic to some, and that I found was unfortunate. I think that was.
And that's interesting, because if I could go back far enough in time, I would never have started it. Because it has not proven to me to be a valuable enough service. I mean, that amount of money, that $22,000 that it would cost to do it for a year, I mean, we could send 40 kids to the nature camp for that. That's a lot of money to be spending.
But at the time when we made that decision as well, we didn't actually think we were getting rid of a service.
That's right.
That's true.
We were under the understanding that it was the Marshwood late bus that was gonna work out. That was my impression, that, that would be, and maybe that's something we talk to parents about. Would you rather, I don't know if Marshwood would entertain trying it again. Or is that too much? I don't know. But, whether that would be a better option for parents
Here's
or
another
not.
question. Here's another question that ties into that. Because is there a way, or was there ever a discussion about that drop-off spot? Where those kids were getting dropped off at that school?
That's
Is there-
where we asked.
I'm sorry?
That's where we asked.
Right, but is there an option, or can there be a discussion as to, okay, you've got a group of Rollinsford kids, can we drop them off in Rollinsford?
At the grade school.
Yes,
Yeah.
I can ask, but they do, so their late bus does gang stops. They pick, 6 or 7 areas, and they make their drops. So,
But could we have, let's say?
But we're doing the Legion now, we're already doing the
No,
Legion now. I know, but I'm talking about as a group pickup area. What if we were to have something like that for the late bus? It's not very far from where they're already going.
I can ask any questions you would like.
I mean, I think it's worth exploring. I don't think we have anything to lose.
So if we resume with Marshwood, the question you're suggesting Jenny asked is that if we resume with, if Marshwood is willing to entertain us resuming, going with them, would it be possible to have them drop the Rollinsford students off at Rollinsford Grade School? Is that the question?
Or another,
What if we
Tom
Tom
was suggesting the Legion.
or the Legion, because there's an easier turnaround for the buses there.
Right.
I think the
They-
school is-
they-
Well, that's where we already have an existing,
Not for this bus driver. Not
No,
bus
I
driver, it's a
know.
Marshwood bus driver.
I know that, but it's an area that's, they're familiar with, with pickups and drops.
The parents and the kids, you're saying.
What
Clearly,
do
that's,
people think about having that question be asked? So we have our options open for January. Just a consensus.
I think it's worth asking, and I hope they don't get upset with us.
Well, they'll be fine. So the Legion. Okay, I'll ask.
Or else, I mean, whatever. they do.
and
Whichever
here's another
seems-
question.
Yeah, kids can do them.
Here's another question to tie into that. If there was, I'm just throwing this out there, because I really don't know the answer, but if there was a cost associated with that, what would it be?
Right.
And is it more feasible than what we're paying now? Because if there is a cost associated, I think that I can't imagine it's gonna be the same, how are they gonna justify charging us the same amount that we're paying now? Because they're taking all these other kids in the same direction.
Well,
And it would be a group of kids, it's not gonna just be one kid, it's gonna be a group.
It might be five.
that
Or
It
brings
could
up
be 6 or 7.
the first
Joe.
student problem.
What was that?
Well, it may not, so,
That brings up, I mean, we offered the contract to first student with.
not sure we can
But-
pay that.
Right, I'm not, yeah, I'm not
Let
sure.
me
Let's see if
nicely
they say
ask
that first, I guess, we
Let's-
don't, yeah.
And then we'll worry about plan B. Let's try plan A first.
Okay, is there anything else we would want to have in hand so that we can learn about in December and then,
Is
so
there
we'll have for December?
potential to reduce the first student cost if we were to have, say, 3 group stops as opposed to what they do now? Or is that not?
I don't know if it's the stops, but so why don't I like buses. It's becoming my new favorite.
You're a bus expert.
Yeah, it's becoming those little wheels. So why don't I talk?
Yeah, I think
Mary
it's essentially
and Barbara.
asking if there are ways to reduce the cost of
Yeah.
first.
So is there anything we can do to reduce
Yeah,
the
so
cost?
I will talk to the first student as well for cost.
Is there any other information that we should have in hand?
Cost.
Well, what do we want from parents and, what are we looking for as feedback? I mean, we really do need to sort of know who's
Well-
using this bus and who isn't.
Right.
So, what does this, because if we get a list of 50 people using, 60 kids using this bus, we're gonna be like, okay.
Well, you
Where-
get the towns
where are
every
they?
week.
Right.
Right.
I know, but you have to figure the same kids are probably using the bus regularly. That's the impression I got when we had the meeting last time. It was the same folks using it all the time, which is great. But if it's 2 kids, that's a carpool. That's not a bus.
If it's 5 kids, it's a carpool.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so we mentioned before about maybe
Yeah.
getting things out on social media about the actual cost. Is there another way we should get that information out on the actual cost? Any suggestions on that?
Maybe once we have some answers to these questions, we do, and we have options, and we say, here are the things that we will be discussing
The
when
next-
we
That's,
address.
so we can do
the
that in
bus
December.
issue.
We can decide what to send out in December.
Right, and
Okay.
then that way we give parents some notice, so they can think about the options.
And then set it again at the beginning of January as well.
We had one stop in Rollinsford, and that's it. I think that would alleviate a lot of the concerns, because most of them talked about walking over that bridge. At night, it's dark down that street to get to wherever they would, you know, wherever they live. I think this is a far better option, gets them over that bridge. That seems to be the biggest concern.
All right, so I think we have things to move forward with. Marie, you might have had a comment.
I understand you're talking about the current year,
Mhm.
the decisions that have to be made for next year in December. We've got to get the budget out in
Yep.
January for next year.
So-
So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that whatever way you want to do it. on
Yeah,
warrant
so
article,
it would be good to have these options, these answers available to us as quickly as possible.
Yep,
I mean, if possible, December 1st, if not,
we'll talk about those tomorrow and see where we're at to go.
thank you very much. All right, thank you. We'll move forward on that, but thank you, that's good. It's always an interesting discussion. And no, I forgot to mention that if you don't care to continue sitting with us, you don't have to. You understand that students and lots of pulls on the
Mark.
but we enjoy having you.
They understand.
Oh. He was just waiting for me to say it. He was great. All right, the next discussion item are some policies, school board policies. You'll be pleased to know that the policy committee reviewed twice as many of these. Some of them we okayed as a committee because they were just no-brainers, they were recommended and no-brainers, but these we decided on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, to be brought forward to the board. This is the discussion time. This is the time to ask questions, to say, why do we need this? What are we doing this for? What's changed? And we will take action on them in our December meeting. So,
The yellow highlighted parts are
The change.
amended.
Okay, that's right.
And do we know what they are changed from? Can you tell us that, Judy, or Jenny, or?
Sure, so why don't I help you a little bit? So the first one, ACE, which is grievance, all it did is added the procedural, the special ed procedural handbook in there. So this is the handbook that every parent who has a child that they refer to special ed, anytime we go to a special ed meeting, this handbook is offered to parents. So the change was, this handbook was updated in February of 2016. So that's the change there.
and this is what that handbook looks like. Just so you can see. This just sort of refers to that.
You want me to keep going through each of
Yeah,
the policies? And then on the second page of that policy, what we did is the legal reference gets updated as well, so that's why that's in yellow. The second policy that we changed is,
EBBC and LJLCE.
Emergency care and first aid,
yeah, so the emergency care and first aid, there was, so EBBC and JLCD and JLCE are all the same. It sits in two different parts of the policy book. The J policies are related to students. The E policies are support services that are provided. So the only change is a single paragraph that talks about the school nurse or other designated personnel may administer other medications to students in emergency situations, and that such personnel has all training as required by law. And so such medications may also include the administered in emergency situations if the student's medical plan is on file. So basically the change there is that the training happens by law.
Did you want to make a comment?
No, that sounds right. I know that I should be able to obtain an albuterol inhaler to have on hand for those
Yes.
kids that have it, but just not with them that day.
Correct.
That's new. I don't know if
Correct.
that's listed in there as well.
Yep,
Yeah,
it is under
it
the
actually
legal
gets called
reference.
out, yeah.
Highlighted.
Yep, yeah, so that was the only changes on those. And because it has to hit all three of the policies, that's why you got all three, it's redundant.
It's very redundant.
PEA is student services. Yeah, that's a lot. And the change is right at the end. I think is the change. And the change was pursuant to, so let's say a parent, a student has parents that are divorced and there's a parenting plan in place. And the student, one parent lives in Rollinsford, one parent lives in Dover. The parenting plan says the student's going to attend the Rollinsford grade school. They have a choice, they can attend either one. It just means we do not necessarily have to provide transportation. But it would be up to the parent to provide that transportation. So let's say if the student was staying with the parent in Dover, that parent would have to bring the student. You know, let's say they do a split, 3 days a week they're in Rollinsford, 2 days a week they're in Dover. We're not responsible for transporting the child.
Does that still hold if the parents live in, if one parent lives in South Berwick or Elliott?
And the other parent lives,
Rollinsford?
so if a parent lives
They
in,
go to Rollinsford School, because that town, I mean,
So-
I'm just wondering if our relationship with Marshwood means, do you know what I mean?
yeah, I know what you mean. So let's say, no, because, so let's say the parenting plan says, live with my mom in Rollinsford 3 days a week and 2 days a week with my dad in South Berwick.
Right,
The 2 days a week, dad would have to transport himself.
okay, even with our current,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's just the fact that we don't have to go to South Berwick.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure that it
Yeah.
still held true,
Yeah.
even though we have
A working
a working
relationship.
relationship with that,
Yeah.
the district of those towns. Got it.
Then the legal references below are the legal references was updated. The other piece is, if we had a charter school within the district, and parents chose to send their children there, they could ride the buses, we would make it happen, but we don't necessarily have to change routes to make that happen. So that was it under transportation. EEAA was the whole audio-visual video recording. If we're going to record for special ed purposes, we now have the rights to do that. And then the other changes was changing what's considered a classroom. As you remember, at the beginning of, I think last year when this first went into effect, it meant we couldn't do any videotaping because we needed to get permission and all of that. This now says, hey, wait a minute. If the kids are in extracurricular, if a band concert is happening, and video recording happens, it's fine. Those areas we authorize, plus we list that videotaping occurs, and because of the policy last year, it's automatically on our forms that we send out. So,
The parent, if you check that you don't want your child there,
Then
it still holds true.
That still holds true, we don't take any of that away. And that's it. So there were, like Judy said, we had a lot more that we discussed, but a lot of them were just, there were no content changes, so the policy committee just moved them forward. Anything that was a content change, we brought to the board. So you can sit on them, you can waive rules and accept them tonight, that is up to you. I can bring it back this month. I'm flexible, whatever you want.
Do you think Alan would be?
No. So, I will entertain a motion to accept, to act on these policies, if the board is so willing to act on these policies and accept them. So let's, well, I'll accept the motion.
Okay.
Okay, and Lindsay,
A motion,
I was second.
all right.
We vote well.
Any
Everybody
further,
was
any further discussion? All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye to accept all of these. Aye.
Oh, thank you.
Done.
These are,
They were,
oh, a lot of changes. Thank you.
okay, we have one action item tonight, which is the Funtime University contract. It's the first time I had seen it, so I did not act on it last week. I didn't want to just act on it as the chair without everyone having a chance to see it. I'm assuming you've all had a chance to see it, is that correct? No, I didn't. Okay, does anyone want to look at it? So I do have one question, and I don't know if anyone here on the administration or if Tracy can answer it. The number of classrooms that are used is not filled in. So does anyone know? Tracy?
Do I have submissions?
Yes.
It depends on where we're needed to be. We could be anywhere in the building that we're needed to be. If right now, we're in the art room, with the use of the gym whenever it's available for us. But we have been in the 2-3 makerspace, we have been in Noah Conti's room, we have been in.
Yeah, I think what I'm
So
looking
it's
for
one
is
classroom.
how many classrooms at a time would you be in? Oh, I didn't
No, but
need to know exactly. what-
it's not any, only one, but we could be anywhere needed.
Okay. And the other question, and I'm not sure if anyone here knows, and again, Tracy, you may know, that under safety, which is number 7, 7D and F, there's a policy and a certificate, and do we have those on file? We do, yeah, and the policy of their, of the operating, we have those on file, right?
The school use procedure things and that.
Certificate of liability.
Yeah, the certificate of liability, and then D,
A policy for health, safety, and nutrition shall be delivered to the district prior to the effective date of this agreement.
We're New Hampshire licensed for all of that, so that's all on file.
okay. All right, so we are acting on this now, and next year we'll try to act in a more timely manner. I will, as long as, so is there any discussion on it? Does anyone want to discuss anything further on it? I am going to fill in one classroom.
Looks like there's one classroom at the gym.
Well, there
But not
are,
at the same time.
Oh, not at the same time?
well, it also meant, there are things that we may try to clean up the contract a little next time around, because it also, they also have access to the kitchen in this, they have access to the building essentially 365 days a year. Maybe we'll work on that for next year.
This was made by the SAU, that contract.
Yeah, that's
No,
fine.
I'm just saying, we didn't have anything to do with it other than say, okay.
You're right, we'll update it. We'll update it more, and next year we'll discuss it as a more timely manner. Right now, it's just a matter of getting it out unless other people have other thoughts or. There's this certificate of liability right there.
It's at the end.
Okay. So any other thoughts or questions? And I will get that signed and hand you a copy tonight if you'd like. So I will sign that. So again, it's an action item, so I motion to approve this contract. Motion. Okay, seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye. All right, thank you. Motion carries. All right, financial update. The, this year's budget now. Questions on it for Marie, or Marie, is there anything you would like to share?
No, just that you see where we are today on the budget, on this year's budget. Also, I included the letter that went to town based when they set the tax rate on what they owe the school district for the liability and the appropriation, so you see that. And I also handed out tonight to you personally the letter that went out to the board of trustees indicating that we transfer the $25,000 to each of the trust funds, with the backup from Citizens Bank that indicates that it's transferred. And we usually wait until the audit is complete to make sure that the funds are there and the tax rate is set. And once that's done, then we issue that, just to make sure that every checks and balances are in place, so that's what happened.
Okay, thank you. The only comment I have, again, and this is on the one-page sheet that gives us the summary of it, is it looks like there are still some things that, that should be encumbered that are not, so it looks like we really have a much larger balance than we do. And then we talked about it last time, and we know we're gonna have to pay property insurance. So
It's done. Property insurance?
it's not encumbered, and we haven't.
Property insurance is
There's nothing
zero, we paid for it.
Never mind that one, sorry. So sorry, I tried zero. Utilities,
We don't know what we're gonna spend, so it's based on actual,
It's monthly.
it's based on what we actual utilization of it. Because last year, we had all that savings in oil.
yeah, we did have some savings on that, that's true. Well, all right, if we're not gonna encumber, it still looks like a lot there, okay.
Well,
I'm fine with it, but it's.
It will look like a lot, but I think it's just that it gives us a better tracking, and we're, I think, a little bit more aware of what we're actually spending.
If we're doing it that way, okay. But that's okay, I mean, yeah, and you're right, I mean, we asked you to unencumber things when they were encumbered, and now asking you to encumber them again, so I guess I'm being a little wishy-washy on that.
$200,000 of that money, of the $400,000, is savings on salaries and
Right.
benefits for staff.
Right. Okay, that's good. Any other observations or questions on that from anyone else? Okay. So we're moving on to old business, community connections. Any thoughts? Go first. Any connections?
No, I mean, that's like all the bus communication stuff is all.
Yeah. Yep. And the questionnaire, the survey is going to go out in January, right? So, okay, so perhaps we can sort of review that. We should probably review that in December, on our December meeting.
Right, so people can think if there's any other questions other than the
Yeah.
ones we've asked.
I know we.
Any other?
Yes.
Right.
You have, you did send some ideas, and I know that we've talked about making sure we add transportation questions to it, or at least one. So review in December. That'd be great. Anything else on community connections? Old business transportation, because we need transportation on here as often as possible.
So,
Jenny, you had an
of
update on
course
that,
I
right?
do, yes. Transportation's my life. So just so you're aware, I asked first student to sort of give me a little layout and a rollout. So Marshwood Middle School, on a typical day, now, we can't control traffic on 236, I mean, so a typical day, starting, stopping, picking kids up, they start at 6:10, and they arrive at Marshwood Middle School at 7:01. Okay, so 6:10 to 7:01. The high school starts, the pickups start around 6:15, and they arrive there at 7:01. 7:02. Sorry, 7:02. So those are what the drivers have. We know that there's a little exchange. It's not smooth that we just pick up and go directly. We do one stop, we make an exchange. So that takes a little bit of time, but for the most part, this is what she gave me that happened. And again, traffic on 236 varies from day to day and hour to hour.
And that's roughly when the Marshwood buses are arriving as well. I mean, that's how they got those times, the 7:00.
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
yeah. So they have a GPS on the bus, so they can track exactly what happens.
I mean, we were concerned about one bus potentially getting to the transfer place so much earlier.
Yeah.
Is that, did you find that?
I did.
And on election day, I was working polls all day, so I decided I wanted to make sure I got there early enough to see the transfer. And both buses were there. I got to talk to a couple of parents who were dropping, a number of parents using to drop kids off as well. I spoke to a couple of parents who said they're very pleased with the way it's working. And then I saw the two buses go off in two different directions. And I said, well, isn't that interesting? Aren't they both going, one's going to, and they said, yes, to go to the Marshwood Middle School, they go across Bear Road and out. They said it cuts 15 minutes off their drive. 15 minutes off their drive to get there. So that's how they go. So I thought that was fascinating.
And I think the variation of it might be if some days, some kids ride, some days they don't ride. So I think we're gonna always have some variation of a few minutes because it depends on the pickups that day. But that was the information I got from that. I spoke to Mary about the crowded late bus, the Marshwood bus. She said that's going to peak and valley depending on what's going on for sports and their usage. She was not aware that anybody was denied riding the bus, so she said she would get back to me if there were other problems with that. I have not heard back from her. So again,
So was she aware of any, I mean, have they had any overcrowding before we were involved? I mean, because not that we would put them over the edge, really?
No, no.
Okay.
No. And she said, if they peak and valley, sure. I mean, there might be sometimes a sports season ends, or it's the end of a quarter, or, you know, so I think there's some ebb and flow with any sort, but none that she was aware of. That was my report. So I did my bus stuff. I think we're good to go. In another life, I am truly going to be a bus driver with my own little fleet. I think it is right about now. Could be. So, we're good with buses.
Okay, the other comments, discussion on transportation. Marshwood contract items, I don't think anything new at the moment. We'll be doubling down on that next year once we get closer to reviewing. Okay. That concludes our meeting for this evening. We do have non-public, which we'll get to in a minute, but next Monday, we have the SAU board meeting, where we will move our SAU budget forward. The following, and then 2 Mondays after that, we have a public hearing on the SAU board meeting, on the SAU budget, which will not take long. And then the board meeting follows that. So that's it then until our next meeting here on the 8th. Well, I'm sorry, our budget meeting on the 1st.
Right,
Let us not forget, December 1st, 5:30, right here at RGS. And at that meeting, let's try to be prepared with, I'll try to get out to people the things that are probably going to be in warrant articles. Let's try to have an overview of everything. With a little bit of luck, we'll also have a collective bargaining agreement, and we'll be able to include that in our overall budget as well. Hopefully so.
That's a warrant article.
I know, but it's all part of our budget. I mean, warrant articles are part of our budget. We can't just ignore them. Okay? All right. Then we will take visitors' closing comments, please. Tracy?
Is the school board aware that Marshwood is, and it might or might not affect us, but Marshwood High School is talking about changing their morning start times? So I don't think it'll matter as much now that we have our own buses going that way, but they're actually doing it's in the newspaper, They're actually doing a review of area high schools and start times, and talking about starting the 4 days that they start at 7:30, starting it later in the morning, so.
Yeah, I was not aware that Marshwood is doing that, but I'm not surprised. I know Oyster River has done it already for this, done it for some of this year. I mean, I'm not surprised to hear it. I mean, all the studies are showing it's the right thing to do. But thank you for bringing it to our attention. Any other closing comments?
I just have a question on your favorite topic of transportation. Next year, I will have a kindergartner. Is there door-to-door service, or do I have to go to a bus stop for my kindergartner? Do you know?
Well, depends on where you live, correct?
Okay, so if we go on where I live, I'm wondering if the board would consider looking at the bus routes, because I live next to St. Mary's Church on the other side of the train tracks, and my child will be walking on streets that don't have sidewalks, crossing Main Street, and crossing the railroad tracks as a kindergartner / first grader, because
Yeah, they wouldn't do that.
our bus stop is the town hall.
If you had a kindergarten.
They usually go to.
They adjust the routes each year based on
And
students.
that's the answer. They adjust the routes each year, so they'll have to.
Because right now, our bus stop is the town hall, and there's nothing that comes into that side of the tracks.
They'll make adjustments. We make adjustments actually all year long, depending on people that move in or move out as well.
And because I was concerned about that, and I brought it up to the town, and the fact that there is no crosswalk on Main Street for my child to get from one side of the street to the other, or that they have to cross the town hall parking lot to get there to the bus stop, and they said, well, that's not our problem, that's the school board's problem.
Well, we're not it's all of our problems. Okay. But your question is answered, right? So
Yes.
it's the other listeners.
So next year, or later this year, when I enroll my student, adjustments will be made.
Yeah, and bus routes are available, they're posted by August or September.
August 1st.
By August 1st, so you'll be able to look at it then.
Because traditionally, from my understanding, is that area's been a walking neighborhood, because it's not far from the school.
Not with kindergartners usually.
Anyway, we'll see how all that shakes out, and because we love discussing transportation, we'll look forward to
I
seeing.
just want you to keep it on your radar as you're going through budget season.
No, we will always transport our kindergarten through 12 students to and from regular school hours, always. We're pretty much committed to doing that. Any other comments by visitors? Comments by the board? Nobody also? So I will entertain a motion to go to non-public. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming.
Blind sandbar in the bottom of the ocean.